we are really grateful for you taking our time and coming here. I was in one of your talks today, and I was really drawn to how you spoke about suffering. Would you like to care to tell me a bit more and broaden my understanding of what it really is and how and why God gives us suffering?
Might be a bit difficult to say why does God give us suffering. I think probably, maybe the best way to put it, God would allow it. God allows suffering and all that. And I think, the topic had something to do with good God, suffering world. And, what the Judeo-Christian tradition has given us is this narrative from Genesis about how God created a good world. He created everything, including the human person, male, female, and saw everything was good. Everything was in harmony. We lived in right, ordered relationships with one another and with God. And then chaos entered. That's the story of what we call the fall. So chaos breaks into what we call order. And then from that, everything is in disharmony. Relationships are ruptured, We don't trust each other. We even distrust God, And I think this is a subtle thing, So that breaks in, and that's what humankind has experienced again and again, over the centuries. This whole idea of what it means to be a human being is the basic thing of we are limited. We're vulnerable, we're finite. We have a beginning, we have an end. And sometimes it's difficult to grapple our minds, around this very truth, We either live, in denial of this fact that we are limited, we don't know everything, and then we hide. We hide from the fact that, sometimes if somebody discovered who I really was, maybe they will not love me. And that's a painful place to be. So that causes a lot of the suffering, that we go through. We blame each other, You remember, what I told you about, So Adam is approached by God, and he says, it's the woman you put with me, she caused this. The woman says it's the serpent. So it's like a whole cycle that continues to go around, and that causes the suffering. So everything is in this harmony. But the hope of this all is that, God has entered into human history, what we call the mystery of the incarnation. He's become one like us in all things. Jesus Christ, he entered human history. He entered into all the stupidity, all the foolishness of being human, all the stuff that affect us, the betrayal, the denial, the abandonment. He went through it all. And then what he suffered was death, which is the ultimate, And we thought probably death would end it all. But his resurrection gives us hope that death doesn't have the final word. Suffering doesn't have the final word. There's hope for resurrection, bodily resurrection. So it's not just some spiritual stuff. So I think this is what we are called to do. We're called to enter into what we call the Paschal mystery. So we're called to die and rise every day. So that means we have to make certain choices. We have to be very conscious of our limitations, but make choices such that we will not fall into the chaos. But that some order will enter into our lives. So Jesus says in Luke chapter 9 verse 23, he says, if anyone wishes to come after me, he says, let him deny himself. Okay? So that means you got to make certain choices, hard choices. Take up your cross, and the cross certainly meant a lot. Suffering, it meant humiliation, it meant so many things that our human condition exposes us to. Okay? So deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me daily. Okay? Then you are a disciple. Okay? So sometimes people want to say, oh, it's hard to live this life. Yes, because our human condition has made us very limited. So come on, what do they say? Suck it up. Suck it up and live life for what it is. Stop complaining, which is what you often see in our day and age, particularly amongst millennials. Oh, we have it very hard, and it's the government's fault. I was telling people the other day, it's Trump. Even people in England and Australia are blaming Trump. I'm like, what has he got to do with you? So this is the situation. Yeah.
So what tips do you think you can give us as young adults to navigate through all these sufferings that we go through daily? I know we don't normally have, big sufferings, but little ones and stuff. Like, how should we navigate this part and, be with one of Jesus' disciples?
So like I mentioned, I think it comes down to choices. You see, Jesus himself, when he called people to follow him, he demands a lot. That's what I was telling you about the book I just read about God is not nice. He demands a lot. So for example, in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 through 14, he says, choose the narrow path. See? Then he says, broad and wide is the road that leads to destruction. And he says, many have chosen that because it's easy to go on it. But it says, narrow and constricted is the road that leads to life, and only few find it. So if there's any advice I'm going to give to any young person, is hey, there are paths that when you take on, you are inviting chaos into your life. Sometimes we bring the suffering onto ourselves. I think I witnessed yesterday when I spoke to at the rally about my own journey. As a young person, I made certain choices that brought a lot of suffering to my life. You remember, I fathered a child out of wedlock before I went to university. And the whole thing was choices that I made. And it was at the point where, I was faced with a choice of either aborting the baby that my girlfriend had become pregnant with, or committing suicide. See? So thank God somebody came into my life who introduced me to the love of God, which led me back to, again, making certain choices, acting in a certain way, which brought order in the midst of the chaos that was in my life. So it's all this principle, going back to that actually typal story, of the Genesis account. So I think it's simple. Jesus himself also says, take care how you build. Because if you build on solid rock, you're going to have your house standing when the winds blow and the gales blow. But he says, the fool is the one who builds on sand. Because the storms are going to blow into our lives, So he says it again and again. It's not those who call me Lord, Lord, who will enter the kingdom of heaven, but those who do the will of my Father in heaven. So it's easy to say, I'm a Christian. It's easy to say words. But like you and I would agree, living it out is a very difficult part. So that's why we have to count on the grace of God, what we call grace and mercy. Grace is simply the help you get from God. It has to be something outside of you that comes, that you invite into your life, that helps you to do what? To become who God has created you to be. And community is very important. I know young people, want connection. So a community of young people who struggle together, who share their lives together, can also be a good encouragement. So you're not going through stuff alone, and that will help you. And then your own personal prayer life, these are all, little helps that kind of can build you up, and to also recognize that you don't know everything. See, which is a big problem with maybe young people. Young people suddenly wake up one day and they tell their parents, I know. Really? You're going on? No, I know. Really? What experience do you have in life? No, I know. So they seem to have answers to everything. And you have to be very, very cautious, in life to realize that, yes, you know certain things, but others have experiences and things to share with you that will help you become a better person. So start with yourself. Okay, start with yourself. Build a relationship. And then you can move out to build up other people. And then you can move into the community so that gradually kind of you're a positive influence, in the lives of other people. Jordan Peterson, the professor of psychology that I mentioned, in his book, one of his rules is this, before you go out there to change the world, learn to make your bed. Yeah. Learn to clean up your room and make your bed. And then you can go out there and speak about the environment and global warming and climate change and, wanting to change every policy, but you can't even make your bed. Can't peel a potato, it doesn't work that way. So I think these are little pieces of advice that can help young adults. Young
Right
people.
choices.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good. So thank you once again for everything, for coming here and helping us grow each day. Your impact is really amazing.
Thank you.